Welcome into QNN Sports. I'm Connor Oldthorne alongside Ben Kane, Q30's women's ice hockey beat reporter. So, Ben, we saw the women's ice hockey team. They're ranked as high as 4th early in the season. They've dropped down to 9th since. What's happened to cause that drop?
I think a lot of it has to do with consistency within the team. Obviously, they go back and forth on these streaks of 40 shots per game and then 20 shots per game, but they only average about 3 goals, and it's finding those consistent moments within the shooting that's going to propel them going forward. They're creating shots in some games, but they just can't find the back of the net. If they can be more accurate, more precise, I think it's going to help them propel them up the rankings.
Who's been the most important player this season?
So there's 3 players on the watch list for 30 points right now: Sadie Peart, Lexia Gia, and Olivia Mobley. I think it's got to be Olivia Mobley. Every time she gets the puck, she just looks really dangerous. We've seen her shoot from really far out, and sometimes they just slip in at that point. So anything can happen when she's on the puck, but she's always a danger on the ice, and she's definitely probably their best player right now.
Who's been the most improved so far this season?
I would say Schroeder most recently as well. She hasn't really gotten many wins, but obviously a 2-1 win against Harvard this weekend. She was in the net, and she did win that game. So she's slowly improving, and I think she's going to be a big part of this Bobcats team as they like to rotate between their 2 goalkeepers.
You mentioned those 2 goalkeepers, but in the upcoming ECAC hockey playoffs, which goalie do you want to rely on more, Logan Andrews or Schroeder?
From a consistent standpoint, I think it would have to be Andrews. She's been playing better than, obviously, Schroeder, like we said, but you could toss it up. When you have 2 goalkeepers that are this good, you can rotate them in at any time, and the play styles that they have, they can play differently in different situations, so it's a really good thing to have if you're Cass Turner right now.
But how can they jump up a little bit, get a better spot, potentially at a Frozen Four run?
One of the main things when they were going on a bit of their slump that we talked to Cass Turner about was the communication on the ice. And in certain games, they just were talking a lot more. They were talking with their power play units, especially telling them what they want these plays to look like. And they noticed it on the ice. The players came off the ice feeling good about their performances in that game when they were communicating more. So if they can just communicate a little better, it seems very cliche, but the communication is key if they want to get better in these next few games.
Ben, which team do you think the Bobcats would match up best against in the upcoming ECAC hockey playoffs?
That's a really good question. Probably have to say Clarkson. I think they lost 3-2 earlier in the season, and then they had the 2-1 overtime win. But every time these 2 teams meet on the ice, it's just such a fun game to watch. It's so tight that it'd be a really nice matchup to see come ECAC playoff time.
And what are your expectations for the team for the rest of the season?
I think they can make a good run. I think if they can get the pieces right, and they have the pieces to make it right, if they can just find a way to get it going, even more than it has been recently, I can see them making a really deep run, potentially into the NCAA tournament.
Anything else you'd like to add?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Ben. We'll see you next time on QNN Sports.